Pete, the columnist and the sports editor of the Times-Union, joins us every Monday morning here on Big Board Sports. Good morning, Pete. How are you?
Good. Thanks, Roger. How's it going?
I'm good. I appreciate a few minutes as always. And you agree that this despite the loss, there's a lot of positives that came out of the loss for you, Albany, and with trying to increase the fan base. I don't think that performance hurt one bit.
No, I thought actually the biggest positive to come out of the loss was the team's reaction to the loss, if that makes any sense. I thought that even though there were certainly a lot of positives you could take from the game, I certainly didn't get the impression after the game that anybody was walking around saying, hey, we took the preseason pick to win the Colonial to 3 overtimes, so that's a sign of how far we've come. There wasn't any kind of talk like that. It was a lot of disappointment about having a chance to beat a really good team and have a chance to improve their playoff position that they missed. And you could tell that they were really upset and disappointed about that. The expectation is, I think, within the program now that they're ready to make the playoffs. And it seems like they're past the days of moral victories at this point.
I agree, and I thought that a quarterback, Nevin Sussman, owned up to a couple of mistakes that he made, a couple of overthrows here and there that could have been the difference, and certainly on the play in the corner of the end zone that would have won the game had he it would have tied the game, and then if he can go for 2, they were going for 2 at that point in the third overtime, would have won the game. But he took full blame for just not making the best throw he could have. Although he could have used the excuse, Pete, that he was really hammered as he was throwing that football.
Yeah, I actually thought it would have been more than an excuse. It would have been a pretty good explanation. I thought, good for Nevin Sussman for trying to be a leader and taking responsibility there. But I thought he was maybe a little hard on himself. I mean, he had to get rid of the ball because he was under pressure, and then he really got buried as soon as he let go of it. So. Certainly he had and wide open the end zone, but getting the ball there was not as easy, I don't think, as he was making it sound.
And there were a couple other times, too. I mean, Ellis had a chance at the end. Would have been a great catch that would have been a difference maker, the CBA product, and that was back in the right corner of the end zone. It was a low throw, but it really went through his hands. It would have been in the books as a great catch. He couldn't come up with it. And then, Greg Gattuso second-guessing himself in the Times-Union a little bit on Sunday with maybe not running one more play at the end of regulation to get Ethan Stark a little bit closer for what would have been a game-winning field goal, and they would have never gone to overtime.
Yeah, there were 2 plays there where maybe I might wonder if Greg might want to take them back. That was one of them. It looked like he did have time there if he wanted to run one more play, and I think certainly picking up if he could have picked up 5 more yards there, that would have made a big difference. He did have one timeout. Also, at the end of the first half, there was some talk in the press box. We were wondering why on the touchdown drive that Richmond scored, there was a third down play. There was a holding penalty, and he took the holding penalty, and then Richmond ended up picking up, I think it was like a 3rd and 17, and they ended up picking up the first down and scoring a touchdown on that drive. I wondered why he took the penalty and didn't. I assume that Richmond would have just punted on 4th down.
Yeah, that was one that we'll ask Greg about for sure when we have him in the studio on Wednesday. But all in all, I mean, the crowd was great, 9,200. Richmond is a top-tier team in the CAA, and really good, and Albany went toe-to-toe with them. That would have been just a phenomenal win, but I think there's probably enough positives for Greg to take away, and this team will now try to go to Maine and get back on track.
Yeah, certainly. I think if you're looking at it from the big picture, I think Albany would be thrilled to be 4-1 at this point. And I also think if you looked at this as the measuring stick game to say, okay, let's see if this team is for real. Are they ready to compete with the top teams in the league? I mean, certainly they showed they were every bit competitive in the game. They weren't outclassed by. They
got a long way to go, but that wasn't the case. I mean, I think the 9,200 that showed up now know that this team is for real, that they can compete at the higher level in the CAA. And Saturday's loss didn't hurt the goal of trying to build a fan base, because Pete, we were outside before the game and the Great Dane tailgate party, Great Dane game day, south end of the end zone, and it was it was getting to a point where you felt like you were at a little higher level here on what we've ever seen there. A lot of people and a lot of enthusiasm around the game, and that's what they're trying to build. And I think, despite the loss on Saturday, I think they're still right on track to increase the fan base for the Great Dane football program.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that anybody who was there on Saturday night could have been disappointed in the quality of the football game you saw. I thought it was just terrific. And like you said, and on a day that wasn't a great night, by the way. I know a lot of the tickets were sold in advance, but, still it was cold and kind of drizzly at times, and still to have 9,000 people. I thought there were, like the season opener, I thought there were a ton of students there, which is a good sign. And, just walking around into the stadium, as you entered the stadium, you could see that there was a pretty good tailgating scene going on too, which is good. That's what they're trying to do.
We'll see what happens. Road trip to Maine, and then a road trip to Villanova, and then home to Elon. Pete, always a pleasure on Monday morning, and we react to Pete Iorizzo's column in the Times-Union every Monday here on Big Board Sports. Pete, have a great day.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.